Welcome to episode 79 on the Live Blissed Out podcast. Did you know that our landfills are the second largest emitters of methane in the U.S. and food waste is the largest source of that methane inside our landfills? Hello, action taker. Welcome to Live Blissed Out, a podcast where I have inspirational and informational conversations with business owners and subject matter experts to help you get the scoop on a variety of topics. Tired of hesitating or making decisions without having the big picture? Want to be in the know? Then this is the place to go. I'm your host, Marissa Houston, helping you achieve bliss through awareness and action. So let's get to it. Joining us is Katrina Brink, owner of The Empowered Kitchen. She teaches sustainable cooking techniques so you can cook well and have delicious, healthy gourmet food ready for your whole week. Katrina creates fun, engaging virtual cooking classes for individuals, couples, families, and team-building corporate cooking classes. Her goal is to help you cook efficiently with whole ingredients and experience more love and connection by sharing food with others. Learn how to save time cooking, spend less on food from eating out and buying packaged foods, and how to reduce your food waste. A win for your wallet and our planet. Sign up for her email list to receive your pantry staples guide or check out her blog for a variety of recipes. To learn more, visit empoweredkitchen.com. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional advice. Katrina, it's so nice to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Marissa. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, me too. Especially with this conversation that we're going to have, because I think it's so relevant for so many of us. We're going to be talking about sustainable and delicious cooking in the kitchen. And those are two things that I think we all strive to do because we throw a lot of waste away when we plan for our ingredients that we put in the kitchen. And then we find that we either don't use them or perhaps it wasn't what we expected. And that planning and that way of cooking is not necessarily going to help us or our environment. We're basically throwing money away every time we buy food and we don't use it. But then there's also the waste factor associated with that. Coupled with how do we then make everything that we cook delicious so that everybody in the family can enjoy it? Because oftentimes we don't have to just think of ourselves. We have to think of other family members and everybody's got their favorite dishes or things that they enjoy. I'm looking forward to talking to you about all this because I think what you're doing is really addressing those issues for people. I'd like to know more about how you are helping people achieve that.
Well, yes, definitely. Thanks so much for that intro. And that's my specialty. That's what I'd love to teach people how to do. So how to think about your week ahead and know that you have the right ingredients and whole, healthy foods that you're going to be making into really delicious, diverse meals throughout the whole week so that you don't get bored with your food. You can kind of mix it up and adapt it to different family members and just get to enjoy this amazing, really wonderful food that might be as good as a restaurant or better. And it's healthy because you've made it yourself, so you know what's going into it. So you save a lot of money from going out or ordering takeout and all kinds of good things. And then if you think about things ahead of time and how to use up all your scraps and use up all your food to the fullest, then you save a lot of money that way because you're not just throwing food away from your refrigerator at the end of every week.
Yeah. And, it's easier said than done, I guess, Katrina, because I think that one of the challenges that people always complain about is time, because there's so much planning that goes into preparing meals. You have to think about the ingredients, you have to go get it, or even if you have it delivered, many times you might forget a particular ingredient. And then there's the factor of there's so many members of the family that you have to be thinking about. Some people may have allergies to something and some people may just dislike a certain ingredient. So what are some tips that you can share with us in terms of how we balance everything so that it doesn't take over our lives, it doesn't make us feel overwhelmed, and yet we can make the most out of it? And like you said, stretch our dollar.
Yeah, those are great questions. And there's a lot in there to go over and kind of unpack.
Yeah.
I know food, to me, it's so personal. I like to make things flexible. I don't ever prescribe a certain diet or exact way of eating. I really encourage people to eat more plant-based foods because those are great for all of us. And then if you eat meat or dairy, try to find as sustainable source as possible. and eat less of it because there are connections with climate change and meat and dairy. So I'm not saying don't eat those, but maybe just less of them. So that's a little bit about kind of my ethos. But as far as planning your meals and thinking about the week, and Nate's often feeling overwhelmed with like what you could perceive as a daunting task of cooking. And it can take time, but you know what? I feel like right now with COVID, we have this amazing opportunity to take some time to get back to what's important and make cooking a family activity so it doesn't all fall on one of the adults of the family or one person. And it doesn't have to be quite like this big chore. And I think it's about changing your priorities so that this cooking time is something that can feel nourishing to you and fun, and it's going to taste delicious, so you're excited about what you're going to eat. And it can be an opportunity to spend time with a loved one in the kitchen cooking and like chatting while you're chopping vegetables. Knowing that you're going to sit down and like enjoy this homemade meal together at the end, I think is really important. And it's just important for family cohesiveness. And also if you're a single person like I am right now, I would say, you know, it's also important to just cook well for yourself. And that's why I like meal prep, because it's nice to cook one day a week if you're single, a couple, or a family, because then you don't have to cook every night for yourself. So I do encourage people to do that if it feels like just too much to cook like a whole meal for yourself on a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and a Thursday night. And I understand that. I totally get that. So that's why meal prep and kind of batch cooking is just awesome, because you have this wonderful food that you can mix and match and take out of the fridge when you're ready and you're hungry. Ways to change your mindset around cooking. And then for planning, what I do is I look at my refrigerator and pantry and take inventory, and also my freezer, and see like, okay, I really want to use these things up. Like they've been in there for a while, or I haven't had them for a while. So see what you want to use up first, and then kind of think in your head, okay, like maybe I want to make, I don't know, sweet potato soup and a kale salad and a lasagna this week, or enchiladas, or some kind of taco, maybe an egg dish, or an Indian curry and rice, or a noodle bowl, or whatever kind of things. Take inventory and see what dry goods you have, and then also vegetables that you need to use up soon. And then just plan around that and think, okay, like if I grab some sweet potatoes and some cauliflower and some tomatoes, maybe I can roast all of those things and then use those sweet potatoes in like an Indian curry, and then blend the rest up and make them into a nice soup that I can eat this week, and I can also freeze for later. And then other ingredients like the cauliflower, some of it could be steamed and made into a cauliflower rice, and then some could be roasted and put into a chickpea kind of stew or something, or eaten on the side with some chicken and gravy. There's so many different ways to use these same ingredients, just buy a few things, and if you prepare them ahead, then you have these building blocks that make your cooking a lot easier later, because you can throw a quick and delicious meal together.
You know, I think you're so spot on. If you simplify it and you use basic ingredients that you like to apply in most of your dishes, then you can just mix it up that way. Because I think what happens is many of us will look at magazines or watch YouTube or go online and look at recipes, and we get excited. We look at the picture and we say, oh my goodness, I want to try that. And then you look at the ingredient list and there's all these ingredients that you don't have, super exotic, and you buy them one time and then they sit in your pantry because maybe the meal didn't turn out to be as good as you thought it was going to, and B, it's such a rare ingredient that you probably didn't know how to use it in a different recipe. There are so many things that happen along the way, and I think what happens is we complicate it unnecessarily. And like you said, if we go back to eating like your favorite vegetable and then throw in maybe some seeds and nuts, or maybe if you like olives, put certain things in there to mix it up, a little bit of shredded cheese and olive oil or whatever, and make your own salad, you'll start to realize that keeping your ingredients as simple and clean as you can still be very flavorful and enjoyable and good for you. So sometimes that temptation, I think, to create these masterpiece recipes turn out to backfire because they take so much time. It can really hinder our ability to just keep it simple and clean and healthy, and at the same time not overwhelm our lives when it comes to cooking for our families.
Yes, that's a common problem. So first of all, get comfortable with spices and get excited about exploring different spices, and do have kind of a nice little collection of ones you love, and then maybe go to a spice shop and see about exploring some new kinds that you haven't traditionally tried, and have those available I would also recommend like a small mortar and pestle or a little spice grinder so that you can grind those spices fresh, because you get a lot more nutritional value if you grind your spices and use them within a couple of hours, because all those spices are releasing these healthy compounds right when you grind them, and they'll have more flavor. So that's kind of a tip on spices. And I know that can sound a little daunting. If that sounds like too much, then just grab your already ground spices. I totally understand that too. We have to do what we can with what time we have and where we are. But that's something to aspire to. Exploring new kinds of food and getting super excited about a new dish. I've totally been there. And then you're like, oh my gosh, this was a huge project. It was way more than I would bargained for. So that might be too much, but sometimes those things are fun when you have time. Not the practical Sunday night cooking or Monday night, cooking for the family. So I would say maybe experiment with those things and then see how you can simplify it to still make it taste good, but it doesn't have to have all the ingredients. And then once you do have kind of a little stock of your basic things, in my kitchen, I like to have kind of a little section of Asian ingredients. So like rice vinegar and sesame oil and peanut oil and soy sauce and rice wrappers to make Vietnamese spring rolls and things like that, and tamarind paste to make Indian food. And if you get into those flavors, then having that little stock of things is really convenient, because then these things last a long time, and then you can always know that you have what you need, and you'll just have to grab a few fresh ingredients. And then maybe kind of a more European section in your pantry, or however you want to organize your things and what flavors you like.
That's so true. Usually your family is going to have their favorites. There's certain meals that everybody really enjoys. So you can always plan for that, and you already know what those ingredients are. So it just makes it so much easier to prepare on a consistent basis. My husband, for example, he's super obsessed with dates. He really follows the expiration date to anything. And he looks at it when we go to the grocery store. That's the first thing he looks at, like, how long can we keep this before we have to cook it? And then the way we do it is we decide what we're going to eat based on the date. So if, for example, we get some chicken thighs and they're supposed to expire in 2 days, but then we got some pork and those are supposed to expire in 4 days, then we're going to eat the chicken thighs first so that we get that out of the way and we never end up in a situation where we pull out our meat and find out that it's expired.
I'm glad you've brought up expiration dates, because in the United States, this is a really hot topic and a big thing. So right now, there aren't federal guidelines on expiration dates, and it's so confusing. So you can look at a box and you can see sell by, you can see best by, you can see expires, and what the heck do all those things mean? So if it says best by, like on a carton of broth or something, then that's just saying like this is the freshest by that date. It doesn't mean you have to throw it away. It's not this is the date that it's going to be bad and dangerous for you to eat. If it says sell by, then that's just the date that the store has to sell it to you by. It doesn't mean it's bad. Labeling is so confusing in the United States, and their efforts to make it more streamlined and simple. So if something does say expires, like on a package of meat or something, then that is an expiration date. If it says expires, then I would say definitely smell it. If it's 1 day past, it's probably fine. They're going to be super conservative with these dates. So if you feel like you can't eat the meat in time, then I always freeze it and then just take it out and cook it right away when you're ready to use it. So that's a way to save on that food waste. But really, the expiration dates are only most important on like dairy and meat. But even with milk, like I'll taste a little tiny bit of it and smell it. And if it smells fine, then I eat it or drink it.
Eggs too, right? If the egg, for example, floats in water, then you know it's bad. But if it sinks, it's still okay.
Yeah, that's a great tip too, exactly. So, and I never would want to encourage people to eat something that's unsafe or bad for them, but it's how humans evolved. It's like we have to get back to remembering, like we have these olfactory senses and taste, and we can smell and taste things, and if it's bad, then you don't eat it. Keep that in mind.
What turns tap water plus a capsule of salt, water, and vinegar into a gentle cleaner and disinfectant that is EPA approved against COVID-19 and kills 99.9% of germs? Force of Nature Cleaner does. I love using it so much that I partnered with them as a brand ambassador to share my discovery with you. To learn more about this product and their 100% happiness guarantee, click on my affiliate link in the show notes or website to access your promo code. Let Force of Nature know I sent you and help support the show. The simplicity, makes the shopping experience also much easier When I go to the grocery, I usually already know the certain types of meats that I'm going to get for that week, our favorite vegetables, nuts, dairy, like you said, all the main things that we typically get in a week. And because I'm so used to it, I know exactly where to start and where to end, where to go to get what I need. And then my shopping is not only very quick, but it's efficient because then I bring it right home. I know where to store it. It gets used up in the week. And then when the week is over, we just got enough for us for that time frame. And then we're ready to start again. So it just makes the experience so less daunting, I guess.
Yeah, to cook just like for 1 week, kind of plan for 1 week at a time.
Yeah, that's what we typically do. But some people don't have access to grocery stores next to them. They may need more time. And some people actually do a lot of freezing. I haven't mastered the whole freezing thing yet.
Yeah, everyone's lifestyle and kind of environment where they live is different. So they might need to stock up and do fewer grocery store trips. So I'd say, like, if that's the case, then try to get heartier vegetables that'll last a little longer, like carrots and potatoes. And if you get leafy greens and maybe green beans or the vegetables that aren't going to last past a week, then blanch them in hot water real quick in boiling water for 30 seconds. Take them out and then store them in some kind of reusable glass container or plastic or flat resealable bag. There's some nice reusable ones on the market, and those freeze really well. And then if you can mark them with like masking tape and a date and what's in there, so you know what's in there, it's hard to tell when it's frozen. You always have spinach that's been blanched and it's ready to go and throw into a dish, or onions. You can even saute onions and get those ready. If you feel like those onions aren't going to last many more weeks, you can saute them and have them ready to go in the freezer. And also freezing sauces are great things to do. Or if you have a leftover tomato paste or a little leftover lemon juice or coconut milk, you can freeze those. I do it in an ice cube tray and then pop them out and put them in a container in the freezer so they stay fresh. And then you always have some of those on hand too.
One of my favorite things is buying frozen vegetables because I have a little steamer and then I just steam them and then I just put whatever seasoning, a little sauce with it, and it's my side dish with my meal, and it just works out perfectly. And I never have to worry about it not being fresh because I just grab what I need and then put the rest back in the freezer.
Oh, yeah, that's so great. Exactly. And then that's a good tip for people who might not be able to get to a grocery store once a week or something.
Do you recommend that people should set aside a certain amount of time every week for the entire process? Meaning, instead of worry about what you're going to eat every single day, to say, okay, well, Sunday's a really good day for me and my family. We're going to meal plan. We're going to make it a fun event, and we'll cook all our meals or pre-prepare the complex side of it. You don't necessarily have to cook the meal, but you can have everything all ready so that when Monday rolls around and you know you're going to have Monday meatballs, for example, then you have everything ready. So all you got to do is throw them together, make the little meatballs, throw them in the oven, and you're good to go. Something like that?
Yeah, or even put the meatballs together the day before. And if you're just going to cook them the next day, you wouldn't have to freeze them. You could just have them in a container and then cook them up. When I teach a meal prep class, one of my favorite techniques is to show how to roast a couple different kinds of vegetables, mix the flavorings and spices, show you how to use them in a few different dishes. That's a great way, like, to just have those things already done. Plus, you've cooked efficiently because you've used that heat in your oven really efficiently. So you save some money on your bill and you help the environment because you're not heating up your oven to 400 degrees like 3 or 4 times in the week. You're just doing it once maybe. And then when you heat things back up on a stovetop, it's usually pretty quick.
Yeah, because you don't have to reheat your oven. You already have it set. It's already warm. So put several dishes in there and get it all whipped out at once. And then you have plenty of meals to have throughout the week.
Totally. Yeah. And then I like to use that heat to toast some almonds or walnuts or seeds. If I've cooked a winter squash, I'll toast the seeds a little bit, put them on salads or soups. So you can use that heat and have a bunch of other delicious things to kind of add more nutrition and crunch and flavor to your food. So as far as like how much time to spend, it varies. I mean, if you're a single person versus cooking for a family of 4 or 6 or 8 or however many are in your household. And I would say if you have a bunch of people in your household, like get them in the kitchen with you, get people chopping things. And it really gives kids that confidence and ability to have this skill. And in technical terms, it's called self-efficacy. It's like this ability to take care of themselves when they grow up. they won't be intimidated by the kitchen, and they'll be healthier because they'll know how to chop vegetables and cook them well so they taste good. Use all those extra hands at your disposal.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, Katrina, because I like to have fun with it. So, for example, if I am trying a vegetable, like let's say kale, I will ask Google to tell me what are the benefits of kale. And so it becomes like this educational thing. So she'll say like, kale has this vitamin and it does this for you or whatever. And you're like, wow, that's a superfood. Cool. So you can really make it fun with kids as well to teach them the benefits of each of the nutrients that they're eating. And then it's also, believe it or not, great math skills because they're measuring, they're cutting, they're trying to figure out ratios. There's a lot you can learn in the kitchen.
Oh gosh, yes, so much. That's a really great point. And it's so much more interesting for kids to learn math. And they're like, oh, I actually have to use this in real life. Fractions. And figure out cups or like how to divide a recipe in two or multiply it and all those things. It's great. It brings it to tangible, real life application. I completely understand everyone has different tastes and we all like different things. And I think a big piece of it is really just being exposed to different flavors and introducing kids, especially at a young age, to like different spices and flavors so that they're going to be more adaptable and interested in trying different things as they grow up. And they'll be healthier because they won't just be completely hooked on sugar and foods that have been kind of deep fried, sort of those typical fast food flavors in the United States, but they'll be more open about new things. Kids also, they have more aversion to bitter things. They taste bitter more than adults do. And so something might taste bad to them like the first couple times they try it. It sometimes can take up to like 16 times for a kid to try something until they like it. So parents just give up, understandably. So what I always suggest when I'm teaching a kids cooking class is to have the kids take a no thank you bite and just try it because like maybe they like it because their taste buds grew up and actually their taste buds are really changing fast, like every 6 months or so. They might not have liked a tomato when it was raw, but maybe they like it if it's roasted and put on something or if it's in a sauce. So really encouraging them to try that and with different spices or different cooking preparations.
That's a great idea. In today's world, we have a lot of trends, especially when it comes to dieting. So there's all these ways of eating like keto, paleo, Mediterranean, anything out there, you've probably heard it. That then impacts how we eat in our household because, for example, you may have a member of the family that's just bent on doing the keto thing and somebody else is more of a vegetarian. And so then trying to combine all that can be a challenge. So what I always try and do is that, let's say we all want to have chicken. So you can cook the chicken and then the person that wants to have pasta with it can make pasta and then put their own sauces and still eat the chicken and make their own meal. And then you can just have the chicken with a side of broccoli or a little bit of fruit or whatever it is that you decide to do. So you can take a main ingredient and still cook it for the whole family, but then everybody can kind of put their own spin on it.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point and perfect way to do it because as a single woman right now, I don't have family yet to cook for and live with my mom. So we're pretty well on the same page as far as what we like to eat. I can imagine that would be challenging to try to accommodate 3 very different diets that kind of don't overlap too much. So I would say, see if you can get people to compromise and it maybe even adults or teenagers who thought they didn't like something or have had a bad history of eating vegetables because maybe they were all canned and kind of not well prepared and they didn't taste good, which is totally understandable. Encouraging them to at least try something new that you've made that maybe with this new cooking technique of roasting or steaming and with a really nice sauce, you know what, maybe they will like it. I've had adults have that experience and they've surprised themselves. Just be open-minded and willing to see if you can compromise. Then it'll make your meal times easier because you'll have more things everybody could eat together.
Being open to trying things will open up so many doors for you. But then if for some reason you have restrictions, like you are on medical orders to keep low carb and stay off of sugar, I think the universal message across the board is balance yourself. Make choices that are going to be good so that you're not overindulging in anything. And that way you and your family can eat healthy and stay healthy.
Oh, yeah. I always encourage balance. I'm teaching a chocolate souffle class. I love French pastries and desserts and all of these things. So it's really truly about balance and like thinking about what has gone into your food. Like I like to think of it as whole ingredients from the earth, but as long as you can recognize that, oh, like at one time this was hanging from a tree or it came out of the ground, it was grown naturally and something from the earth, then it's probably going to be a lot better for you than something from the middle section of the grocery store that's been packaged and it has a list of 15 ingredients, some of which you can't even pronounce. So just think about, was this made from whole foods? And even a cake can be that thing. I'm not suggesting to eat cake 4 times a day, but enjoy your life. Food is meant to be a joyful experience and to just be this wonderful, sensual, but also sensory experience. This thing that you love and you're really excited about, and not something that you've been deprived of something, or like there's a bad food out there that you can't eat, and just all those things. I think it's caused a lot of challenges for people. I love to encourage a healthy relationship with food where people are excited about everything they're eating.
Like anything else, it's all about balance. Don't overdo anything. You don't want to eat an entire cake in one sitting, but you can certainly have a small piece and enjoy it. Some people have restrictions, and we get that. Some people are sick and they really have food problems, and they have to be very conscientious about what they can and can't eat. You and your doctor can discuss those restrictions. Generally speaking, if you're just looking at trying to change the way you eat and look for whole foods, as you said, things that are going to be healthier for you, watch your portions, that sort of thing, but still have that flavor and not feel like you have to buy a million ingredients, that there are certain things that you're going to start finding you use often, and then you can use them up, enjoy them, mix them up, do different things that are going to make you and your family have a wonderful experience with food, and not make it like it's so time consuming and something that you dread. Because I think that's where most people are. They're like, I'm just going to buy a packaged thing from somewhere because I just don't have time. I don't want to think about it. It's too much work. And I think if you just make it a routine like anything else, let's say you made a decision to go walking 3 times a week, or you made a decision that you're going to read more books. This is just another thing that you have to build because it's something we all need. And so if you make this part of your life, then you'll be able to reap some of those benefits and really enjoy eating and cooking as well.
Oh, yeah. And if you do start to meal prep, honestly, I think it's a huge time saver, or it can be, because you're not getting out all of your cooking equipment and chopping and cooking every night, but you've done it once, or maybe you've done most of it once and then a little bit on Wednesday. So I think people, once they get into it, can see that it can be a time saver. I also think about just thinking about how you're using your time. I mean, with COVID is such an interesting time, so I know I'm completely cognizant of the fact that parents are dealing with a lot, like kids schooling at home, and maybe they're working from home too, and just all these new things. But it's also potentially opened up some free time where they're not driving kids to activities. Thinking about where have you saved time and how can you use that now? And also where you may be losing time spending too much on social media or on an extra episode of a show, which maybe you can use that time to do a little cooking so that you have a less stressful and a healthier week.
Oh, that's such a good point, Katrina. Change your mindset and it could change your life. Tell us a little bit about how people can learn more about what you're up to these days, Katrina. What do you do? Some of the things you offer so that they can learn more about how you help people with eating well and making them empowered to work better in the kitchen and do better when it comes to preparing their meals.
So I love teaching people how to cook, and one of the blessings of COVID, I have to say, has been that I have pivoted my business to online virtual cooking classes. And so people can join from literally anywhere. I'm teaching a group in France next week, which is exciting. I've even taught classes for families who are spread out across 4 time zones, which is really fun. What I'm doing is I have a couple offerings. I have some group classes that are on my class calendar that anyone can sign up for, and they're at specific times. You can either attend live or get the recording later. Everyone gets the recording who signs up for class, and all the class materials for how to do your shopping and get your equipment and all of that. Those classes are listed on my website, all kinds of international themes and some date nights, and also for families. Those are really fun. The other thing that I'm offering is our private classes, which are so fun. So I've taught families for the holidays or for birthday parties. We can do a group of friends or colleagues. I also love team building events. And what's really nice is we don't really have too much of a limit on how many people can attend, we can structure things differently. So the virtual team building classes are really fun, and then we sit down and we eat together at the end of class. I do offer meal prep classes online as well if you want to do this family meal prep cooking, or for a single person or a couple as a custom class for anyone as well, at empoweredkitchen.com. And people can also follow me on Instagram at empoweredkitchen if you'd like to see some really fun food pictures and stay up to date with what I'm doing. And the last really exciting thing is I'm putting together a crowdfunding campaign that is just launching, and I would love for people to check that out. You'll get some really fun gifts for different levels of contribution, like cinnamon honey or cooking classes or aprons. I have all kinds of fun kind of food related gifts, and they're sustainable, fair trade, different kinds of things like that, and different levels. And I'm really excited. It's going to allow me to reach lots more people with this important message of sustainable cooking and how to connect with loved ones in the kitchen while we also take better care of our planet.
Food is an integral part of all of our lives, and we connect through food. And it's interesting how when you travel to other countries or even visit a friend's home, you learn so much about them just through the food that they share with you. So I think that what you're doing is amazing because it's helping people build a really healthy relationship with meals, bring back that whole family connection through meals. I am just really appreciative of the information that you shared with us today.
Thank you so much. That makes me really happy and warms my heart. And it's exactly what I want to bring to the world, just love of good food and sharing it with people that you love around the table. I hope I can bring this to even more people. Thanks so much for the opportunity to talk with you today.
Are you implementing sustainable cooking techniques in your kitchen? Send us a tweet at LBO Podcast. Thanks for listening, and thanks to Katrina Brink for joining us on the show. If you have a question or comment for a future episode, all you have to do is go to speakpipe.com/LBOVM or click the link in the show notes to leave a brief audio message. If you find value in our show, please visit liveblissed.com to reach out, subscribe, and share on social media. This show is made possible through listeners like you. Thank you. So long for now, and remember to keep moving forward.